Control in a relationship rarely looks like control. It doesn't always shout. It doesn't always demand. Sometimes it's quiet. Subtle questions, small pressures, unspoken expectations. And before you notice it, one person is adjusting more than the other. So the real question isn't just who is controlling, it's why does control even show up in relationships at all? At first, it can feel like care. Text me when you get home. Why didn't you tell me this earlier? I just want to know what you're doing. Individually, these seem harmless, even loving. But over time, something shifts. The questions become expectations. The expectations become pressure, and the pressure becomes a pattern. One person starts adjusting their behavior to avoid conflict, choosing words carefully, explaining decisions, seeking approval without realizing it, and slowly the relationship changes shape. Not through one big moment, but through repeated micro-adjustments.
Quietly, gradually, and often without either person fully understanding why. Here's the important shift. Control in relationships is rarely about power. It's about fear. More specifically, fear of losing connection, fear of uncertainty, fear of not being enough. Psychology shows that controlling behavior is often linked to insecure attachment patterns. When someone feels emotionally unsafe, their brain tries to create stability. And one way it does that is through control. Not always consciously, but instinctively. So what looks like control is often an attempt to answer one internal question. How do I make sure this doesn't fall apart? But the way the brain answers that question can unintentionally create distance instead of closeness, which leads to something deeper. What exactly is happening inside the brain when control takes over? Your brain is constantly trying to predict the future.
Because prediction creates safety. When things feel uncertain, the brain activates its threat detection system, especially the amygdala. This system doesn't just respond to danger, it responds to emotional uncertainty, unclear intentions, inconsistent behavior, ambiguous signals. So when someone in a relationship feels unsure, their brain starts searching for ways to reduce that uncertainty, and control becomes one of those strategies. A mental model for this is the illusion of stability. If I know where they are, what they're doing, how they feel, then I can relax. But here's the paradox. Control reduces uncertainty in the short term, but increases it in the long term because it creates tension, resistance, emotional distance. And the more distance that appears, the more the brain tries to control again, which creates a loop. Fear, control, distance, more fear. This loop doesn't mean the person is bad.
It means their nervous system is trying to manage insecurity in a way that backfires. Breaking control patterns isn't about blaming, it's about understanding and shifting behavior on both sides. Care supports autonomy, control limits it. Example, care says, "Let me know you're safe." Control says, "Why didn't you respond immediately?" This distinction matters because the brain often disguises control as concern. Address the fear beneath the behavior. Control is a surface behavior. Fear is the root. Example, instead of reacting to controlling behavior, ask, "What are you afraid might happen?" This shifts the conversation from conflict to understanding and reduces defensive reactions. Set boundaries without escalation. Control patterns continue when they go unchallenged, but boundaries don't need aggression. Example, I understand you care, but I need space to make my own decisions. This works because it maintains connection while reinforcing autonomy. Tolerate uncertainty. This is the hardest part, because control is often an attempt to eliminate uncertainty. But healthy relationships require space and unpredictability. Example, allowing your partner to act independently without constant updates. This helps retrain the brain to see uncertainty as safe, not threatening. Build internal security. The less secure someone feels internally, the more they seek control externally. Example: developing self-worth outside the relationship, maintaining personal routines, friendships, identity. Psychology shows that secure individuals control less because they rely less on external validation. When you step back, a clear pattern appears. Control in relationships isn't random. It's a cycle driven by fear of loss, need for certainty, attempts to create stability. But the very thing meant to hold the relationship together can slowly push it apart.
And once you see that, control stops looking like strength and starts looking like what it really is, a strategy that no longer works. There's a quiet shift that happens when you understand this. You stop asking, "How do I control this relationship?" and start asking, "How do I create something that doesn't need control?" Because real connection doesn't grow under pressure. It grows in space, in trust, in the ability to let someone be themselves without needing to manage every outcome. And the moment that space appears, something changes. Not just in the relationship, but in you.